a landmark trial in Los Angeles beginning this week relating to the world's biggest social media companies as these trials seek to hold them responsible for harms to children who use their platforms. Instagram's parent company, Meta, and Google's YouTube face claims that their platform deliberately addicted and harmed children. So this beginning in Los Angeles Superior Court on Monday with some of those opening statements. At the core of this Los Angeles case is a 20-year-old identified only by the initials KMG. Let's be joined right now on the ground in Los Angeles, legal affairs expert, friend of the program, Meghann Cuniff. Meghann, thank you so much for joining us. And this is going to be a very important case, not just for this moment, but for other cases down the line. What did we learn so far?
Yes, it will. And this is a big sort of dumping of internal documents from these two companies that the plaintiff's lawyer has obtained through discovery. So we heard a lot about kind of previewing the evidence that we're going to be seeing in the testimony. That was the opening statement yesterday. And we're going to be hearing some testimony from Mark Zuckerberg and the head of Instagram, too, and also the CEO of YouTube. So we have quite a lot of internal discussions that are going to be coming to light here in the courtroom.
Yeah, and obviously when Mark Zuckerberg and other of these tech titans speak, people certainly listen. What kind of questions are we expected to hear from some of these lawyers, these plaintiffs, to Mark Zuckerberg and other executives from these social media companies?
They've talked about how they're going to be asking Mark Zuckerberg if he puts profit ahead of safety. And then I think they're going to be getting into specific documents, specific messages that he's sent that they've obtained that talk about some of these addiction issues or some of these platform issues and maybe don't put the company in the best light. And I think the plaintiff's attorney is really going to be asking him about those. And then, of course, the case is trying to relate those to what happened specifically to this 20-year-old woman who has been using social media since she was a kid.
Yeah, and one of those the plaintiff's attorney, Mark Lanier, might tie it to some internal documents as they could use Meta's own words against them, a project Miss there, a survey of teens about their media use. How much weight might that have?
You know, I think that's going to be some factor, but Meta's lawyers have really emphasized in their opening that this isn't about whether social media is good or bad. It's about whether social media is responsible and caused harm to the plaintiff. And they even said that they don't think the jurors are going to hear much about the actual plaintiff and her problems before they hear from Mark Zuckerberg and Adam Mosseri from Instagram, which, of course, the defense was kind of casting as a problem, that the plaintiff's attorneys are putting this out as a distraction instead of focusing on their plaintiff's case. But I think we heard a little bit different from that today, with the first witness being a psychiatrist. She's at Stanford University, who talked about addiction and how this works in teens' brains.
Yeah, it's important to distinct the moral questions versus the legal questions and ramifications of this case. And we talk about this pseudonym KGM, and she, according to the attorney, will testify, but she won't be in the courtroom before that moment, as she doesn't want to have kind of the trauma of listening to all of these proceedings go through. What do we expect to hear from this individual?
You know, I think her testimony is going to be really pivotal. It really is going to depend on how she is on the stand, and also her mother, because the defense has brought up some problems in the family and really saying that, you know, a lot of her problems that she talked about with the therapist are problems related to the mother and not the social media app. So I think how their testimony comes out just about her problems and how they were dealt with in the house and her use of social media, I think that's really going to be important.
How are other plaintiffs that are not involved in this case hanging on every word, hanging on the outcome of what comes down in other lawsuits in the future?
I think it's very important. We're a lot of parents in court, and there are advocacy groups who are following this. There's a woman who's an advocacy group for parents who have lost children to social media harms, and she is in touch with a lot of parents who are really watching this trial closely. So I think people are just kind of on pins and needles to see what's going to happen here and how this is going to play out.
It's so very important, so pivotal for this one, but other ones. And I want to ask you, because we know who's involved in this case. It's Meta, it is YouTube, but TikTok and Snapchat, they already settled prior to this moment. Why was that? And does that give you any sort of glimpse, any foreshadowing of what's to come?
Unfortunately, I feel like it doesn't because we just don't know anything about the settlements. We know that they settled. And one thing I think is noticeable is we haven't seen any kind of statement from TikTok denying any wrongdoing, which you sometimes do here, which probably a condition of the settlement that they can't do that. But beyond that, we really don't know, are there going to be changes in the app because of this or anything like that. So it's hard to say. And some people were expecting perhaps there would be a settlement before openings here, but we are now full throttle in trial.
Yeah, and also Instagram, Meta, they've come out with new teen accounts, so they're doing stuff to remedy this. So we'll see what comes of it. Anything else to note, Meghann, from inside the courtroom, timeline or anything else you want to know before I let you go?
They're thinking March 20th. Probably by March 20th, they're hoping deliberations and everything could be a little bit sooner. But also, I think Mark Lanier is the master of really milking every word. He wants to make sure the jurors soak this all in. So he is going to take all the time he can take.
Soak that all in until the end or late mid-March. So that could be quite some time, quite a lengthy trial there in the Los Angeles Superior Court. Meghann Cuniff, thank you so much. I appreciate your insight as always here on Live Now.
Thank you.
All right.